hello, friends. Hello, friends. A tradition unlike any other.
Oh, my goodness. In your life, have you seen anything like that?
There it is! Adam Scott, a life changer. Mashed potato!
Here it comes.
This is the 19th Tee podcast. Kieran Marsh and Nathan Drudy with you. It's actually a pleasure to say Nathan Drudy is with you. It's been a little while between drinks for me and my good mate. We've been through a period of travel for work. We've been through a period of illness. And I'm pleased to say that he's done me the pure favour of joining me on his birthday. So I'm going to embarrass you front on and wish you a very happy birthday. 21 again, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Good to see you go around. You're looking youthful as ever.
Thanks.
But it is good to have your company, Drews. We've got plenty to get through tonight. There's, of course, the Asia Pacific Amateur over the weekend down there at Royal Melbourne. We're heating up for the Queensland PGA up here in Nudgee Golf Club this weekend, and all eyes are pointing towards Royal Queensland in a couple of weeks' time for the PGA. But, Drudes, some very exciting news off the top. And if you're tuning in via the YouTube channel, you can already see that we have a guest. But you and I did, I think, what they call in the industry a tease. Did a couple little breadcrumbs last week on the socials saying that there was some news coming. We had some people speculating whether it was good or bad. I don't know what that says about us. People immediately jumped to thinking it was bad news. I can assure you it most certainly is not. But I won't give it away just yet because it's probably best we introduce our special guest this evening. His official title is Merchandise Manager for Cobra Puma Golf Australia, but he is a good, very good, maybe one of the OG friends of this podcast, Brenton Ford. 40, it's a pleasure, as always, to welcome you back to the 19th Tee.
Gents, thanks for having me, and obviously, Drudes, happy birthday, big fella.
Thank you, mate.
Feel very privileged to be joining today.
That's wonderful. He definitely wasn't anticipating or hoping for that level of commitment to wishing him happy birthday this early in the podcast. So thanks for joining in. 40, you are joining us this evening because we are very proud to announce that our great friends, yourself included, at Cobra Puma Golf, have increased their support of this podcast to become our brand new and first ever presenting partner. So moving forward, this will be the 19th Tee podcast presented by Cobra Puma Golf. Very exciting news, mate. I was only reflecting this afternoon. What started as literally a coffee shared between you and I at a little cafe in the inner suburbs of Brisbane, Paddington, for those familiar with the Southeast. 4 or 5 years down the track, has blossomed into a wonderful friendship, not only personally, but between our two brands. And we couldn't be prouder to welcome, Cobra Puma Golf on as our first ever presenting partner.
Mate, and we couldn't be more excited. And I mean, that's flown. And also pre-COVID and all the other changes. And now I'm down in Melbourne. But flashback, that was a very good time. But yeah, mate, we couldn't be more excited as a brand. Obviously, it's been a journey, plenty of emails, plenty of catch-ups and making this happen. And we're stoked. I think the brand synergy works really well and we love what you guys do. And really excited to see what we can produce this summer and into next year.
Really exciting time for the brand as well. 40, obviously, we spoke earlier in the year about the Aerojets and they're doing wonderful things at the moment in the market. I know that there'll be another exciting release coming early in the new year, but also through to the apparel. I mean, talk about relevancy at the moment. You've got the defending Order of Merit champion David Micheluzzi with the Nitros on his Foot Falcons, playing his first tournament of the summer this weekend at the Queensland PGA.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I mean, he is flying. He has been a huge part of our brand. We're stoked that obviously he's on the European Tour next year. But I mean, what an amazing one, bloke, but two, golfer. He's an absolute jet. And yeah, he's out there representing the cat on his chest. And like you said, Nitros on his feet, which is a huge win for us.
It's been a little while since we had you on 40, but we do keep tabs because A, we're golf nerds, and B, we love the brand. But what's been happening, I guess, in the Cobra Puma universe? I mean, it's an open-ended question for you to give us 30 to 90 seconds, however long you really want here to talk about. What you've been up to personally, but what the brand's been up to, because obviously we see it on social media, but it's great to get it, from the horse's mouth and really get to know what's been happening around the traps at Cobra Puma there.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I mean, for us, like thinking back on 2023, it was pretty big for the brand again because of like Ricky's back, right? It's been a big one for us, the major season. Think how he performed this year. And he is our needle, right? Or he is the needle for us in golf. And even just recanting a story the other week, I was in the US at the time at head office when the US Open was on, and tossing up whether to go or not. But one of the really cool things that sort of flagged with me how big a needle he was, like he wore a pretty crazy polo on the Saturday, and obviously played well, played in the final group. And yeah, within 24 hours of that happening, they sold 1,000 units of that polo across the US and the UK,
Wow.
which is pretty nuts. And we hadn't seen that kind of, that kind of reaction for his apparel in a long time, and especially because he hasn't been in that position in a while. So yeah, it's a huge thing for us to have him back. Obviously, he's a pillar for us in men's golf, and Lexi's killing on the women's side as well, and doing amazing things, even at the Solheim Cup and stuff like that. So yeah, it's big for the brand on TV, which is great. We're seeing more of the cat. And then from a hardware side and a personal side, we've just been working really hard on what's coming next year. The plans to make that bigger and better, especially locally. Partnering with all our guys in Australia and obviously with you guys here. And I'm sure that we plan to catch up this summer. You'll get a sneak peek of it a couple of months before it launches, and we'll have a play around with it, and look forward to your feedback. But it's definitely probably one of the most excited I've been for a hardware launch. And I think that people are going to really, really like the aesthetic of it. I think it looks unbelievable.
You mentioned there's obviously a lot coming, but I guess also if we cast our minds back over the past 12 months for Australian golf, for us anyway, we've been preaching how big last summer was and how important it was in terms of the broader golf economy. And you guys are you guys are one of the pillars of that. I mean, do you kind of, just throwing your mind back over the past 12 months from an Aussie perspective, kind of see that the same? Have you seen some great growth within the Australian market for the brand, and how much do you see that moving forward?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Australia's gone strength to strength through COVID. Golf's obviously going crazy. But I mean, I don't know if you guys were there, but Liv was probably one of the most insane things I've seen in Australian golf. I really enjoyed my time there. It was my wife's first time. I framed it as a winery holiday, but we ended up at the golf. And it was her first time seeing a golf tournament, and the questions and actually understanding the players and what's happening, and then being interested in golf afterwards has been a big surprise. So what they're doing for golf in Australia was massive. I think like Liv Adelaide was huge. But in terms of the brand in Australia and in terms of golf in Australia, it's all going strength to strength, and we definitely are up and set ready for a big year in 24 through our partnerships with retailers and what's happening at local golf courses as well. But the Aussie summer looks really solid this year. We've got some great players coming out for the big tournaments, and as well as like some great brand ambassadors are doing well. Hayden Barron and obviously Micheluzzi, absolutely flushing it. So yeah, it's going to be a really, really good summer.
Just a quick one before we let you go, 40, and this could be a little bit inside baseball from me, but personally, one of the players that I kind of flagged when we did our first half of the summer preview that I was expecting big things from was everyone's favourite lefty from Queensland, Laurie Flynn. And I saw that you took Loza out to your beloved Spring Valley last weekend down in Melbourne. So can I get a read from someone who's seen him in the flesh? Obviously, he's played a little bit in the West Australian swing, but he's coming home to Queensland this week. I want to know from someone who's walked 18 with him, seen him, up close, should I be confident about Loza moving forward as I was at the beginning of the summer?
Mate, firstly, absolute legend of a dude, and he's obviously reached out.
One of the best. One of the best
blokes I know on the golf course and off the golf course as well. But I mean, his game off the tee is pretty special. Some of the lines he took with less than driver and keeping up with my driver around Spring Valley is quite interesting. But mate, yeah, the trees didn't exist. He has the most control over his golf ball I've seen. But yeah, I definitely back at him this summer. Like the way he flushes that golf ball is unbelievable. And he just has to have the putts drop. He didn't quite have the putts drop around Spring Valley, but the greens were pure. And for me, it's just his game it's got everything you need to be successful. So I'm looking forward to watching him a lot closer this year and moving down to 13th Beach. I'll see him down there at the Vic Open, and yeah, look forward to following him around.
His game has everything you need to be successful, except either some Aerojets or some apparel. So we'll work on that. We'll put a bit of a side word
We'll
in there, maybe get him into the stable. 40, but look, mate, it's been a pleasure to have you on, as it always is. And as we said, couldn't think of anyone more appropriate to come on and announce, our very first presenting partner is Cobra Puma Golf, and the man who's been there from the outset, mate. It's a pleasure as always, and thank you, and thank the broader CPG family for their ongoing support. We look forward to what's going to be a big summer ahead.
Absolutely, boys. Can't wait to see you guys in Melbourne. We'll test out some new sticks.
Good man, 40. Thank you, mate.
Thanks, boys. See ya.
Well, Drewster, there we have it. It's been a couple of years in the making, but we are now the 19th Tee podcast, proudly presented by Cobra Puma Golf, a partner, as we mentioned now, 40, who's essentially, we never can our first 40-odd episodes, so we can say essentially been on since the get-go, and it's wonderful to have them increase their support to become our very first presenting partner.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been working with CPG for a while now, anyway. And they've been wonderful. Obviously, people will see in the background of your shot there some of the sticks that have, they're wonderful clubs. Haven't helped your game particularly in terms of scoring. KM, they're not magic sticks as they say.
Yeah, it's not a wand.
As they say in the industry. But no, also shout out to yourself as well, mate. You've done a lion's share of the work in getting this one over the line, as I've stepped back from the commercial side of our thing to focus on editing and all the other stuff. So it's been a wonderful deal to get over the line. We look forward to a long and prosperous relationship with Cobra Puma moving forward. So I'm very excited. Lots of cool stuff coming across the course of the next year anyway. So keep an eye out.
All right, Truth, bit of news around, as we said at the very beginning of the episode. We'll start with the Asia Pacific Amateur. Royal Melbourne flexed its muscles once again over the weekend, produced a stunningly exciting tournament. Thankfully, for the second year in a row, it is in fact an Australian taking home the title as the Asia Pacific Amateur. Of course, it was Harrison Crowe last year. This time round, it's Aussie Jasper Stubbs who got the job done on the second hole of a playoff in dramatic fashion. Really, an incredibly exciting finish and well supported there by a ton of Royal Melbourne members, but also the broader passionate Melbourne golfing public who got out in their hundreds and sometimes even thousands across points of the weekend. Opens up a massive opportunity for him next year, as Harrison Crowe did. He will take his place, Jasper Stubbs, in the 2024 Masters at Augusta National. He's also on his way to Royal Troon for the 152nd Open Championship and takes a place in the R&A Amateur Championship in June at Ballyliffin in Ireland. And I would imagine a few other doors will open for him, Drew, as it did for Harrison Crowe. So I think he's the fourth Australian now to win that title, the second in as many years, as we said, and did it in dramatic fashion in a playoff. But credit to Jasper Stubbs. He's written his name into the history books as it relates to Australian golf.
Yeah, absolutely, Cam. I mean, I think it's such an interesting one because, automatically I want to talk about Royal Melbourne and how great it was. And I think, many people
we will.
Many people have done that, and I'm sure we'll spend a few moments on it. I mean, it's hard. I do find it with Royal, but it's hard to find new things to say of what already hasn't been said. But, I think exciting for an Aussie to win it on home soil. I think that's an incredibly exciting tick in the box, and to get it done in the manner that he did, of course, in that three-way playoff, over two very talented Chinese players. I mean, one of which had a 65 on Saturday, if you don't mind, which I believe was the amateur record for the composite course at Royal Melbourne, Samson Zheng. So it was, dramatic fashion. I'm sure, just looking ahead here, Samson probably would have a few bad memories of that final round shooting 4 over par. But it was Jasper Stubbs at the end of the day. And as you say, everything that comes with it now, I always find it fascinating with these sorts of tournaments where so much is on the line for players who are, they're not professionals, of course. It's literally in the title of this event. I find it always fascinating for players who aren't professionals to step up and deliver in the manner that they they did across the course, and went 72 holes and had to go a couple more to get it done. And the flat stick really shone through in the playoff holes, and just really happy for him. He looks like such a good dude, and in some of the media pieces that I've seen, he comes across that way as well. So yeah, really pumped for him, really pumped for everything that's going to come his way in terms of those major entries and everything else, and the other doors that this will open. And it'll be fascinating to see where his career goes from here, Marshy.
Yeah, you mentioned the pressure. Hard to think that poor old Samson Zhang wasn't considering what laid ahead of him with a 4-stroke lead at the end of 54 holes, ballooned out to 5 strokes at one point on his front 9, only for it to all fall apart. And I felt desperately sorry for him, Druids. I mean, he didn't even make it to that second playoff hole. He dipped out after the first playoff hole. Dramatic finish, as you said. So both Jasper Stubbs and Wen Yiting, the other Chinese player who made into the 3-man playoff and eventually advanced to the second playoff hole, they both birdied the 18th on the first playoff hole. Jasper Stubbs first, which was the first birdie on 18 all day yesterday. So that gives you an idea of how difficult the course was playing. Incredibly firm, incredibly fast, winds at times gusting 20 to 30 knots. And in a clutch moment to produce, I mean, both of them did, and then Jasper did again on the second playoff hole to put himself in a position to win the tournament. I just think the tournament itself as well, inherently pure. I've heard it said a lot, and I tend to agree with. It was a great reminder of what golf can and should be. We've had plenty of reminders of the ugly side of the game in the last 12 months, and seeing amateurs play for something that means so much, a place in the 2 biggest tournaments in golf on the line at one of the best courses in the world. It was a delightfully enjoyable couple of days of golf. You mentioned Royal Melbourne. Unsurprisingly, because it's exactly what happened after the 2019 President's Cup, people falling over themselves in praise of the course. And Jasper Stubbs is the winner, but the course itself may be the greatest champion of the weekend. I've seen essays written, Jeff Shackelford, a very prominent golf writer, calling for, again, the case to bring a major to Australia and play it at Royal Melbourne. Of course, the President's Cup's coming back in 2028, I believe it is. It's just, it never ceases to amaze me that every opportunity it's given, it never, ever misses.
And I think that's one of the true the true shining features of the great courses that we have in the world. You look at Augusta, immediately jumps out, right? Of course, the old course, in a lot of ways, Pine Valley, Pebble, Pinehurst number 2, Troon. I'm probably missing a whole bunch of them, but they always shine through as being consistent, pure golf. And that's exactly what Royal Melbourne was. Again, I think there's also this infatuation with Royal Melbourne as well, sometimes more so than courses like Augusta or Pinehurst or others, because we don't get to see it. We don't get to see it that often. Even on the Australian tour, there's no event that regularly goes to Royal Melbourne, so we don't see it. We only see it during President's Cups at this point in time for professional golf. And I think that kind of sets it apart from an Augusta that we go to every year. And sure, there are little intricacies that change year on year, but the fact that it's you don't know what you have until it's gone. And then when you come back and you go, wow, this is actually very, very special. So yeah, I mean, Royal Melbourne, amazing. I think, as I've said, was very fortunate to walk around there for the 2019 President's Cup and kind of get a bit of a sense for it. But I think it's a little different when you get to see it with less people on the property and really get to understand it. So hopefully one day get that opportunity. But super pumped to see Royal Melbourne continually get the praise it deserves. And that's just one of, I know it gets a lot of praise, and deservedly so, but that is just one of a handful of world-class golf courses in that area. And I think that's important to note as well, that it's not just standing alone on its own.
Well said, Drews, and I completely agree. It's been a bumper few weeks for Australian amateur golf. I mean, obviously Jasper Stubbs headlines a big bunch of Australians in there. Billy Dowling played quite well in that tournament himself as well. But only a couple of weeks ago, Drudes, the Aussies also clinched a silver medal at the World Amateur Team Championship at the Abu Dhabi Golf Club. So just looking here, Australia's first Eisenhower Trophy medal since 2016. That team was Cam Davis, Curtis Luck, and Harrison Endicott, who won in Mexico. But this team, Jack Buchanan, Jeffrey Guan, and Carl Phillips, if you don't mind. I mean, as it relates to men's amateur golf in Australia, that's three pretty handy names. They take the silver medal at the World Amateur Team Championship back in Abu Dhabi a couple of weeks ago. So we've spoken countless times about that wave coming through. Probably Jeffrey Guan's taken the headlines there, but Carl Phillips as well. You know what he's doing there at Stanford, I believe, from memory, he's at over in the States. So, yeah, the next generation really starting to make some waves at a global amateur level, Drews.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I was just looking through the list here, the leaderboard. I saw Jai Picken finished in a tie for 39th. Didn't have his best Sunday, but was, looking pretty good for most of the tournament. Did I see Connor Fuchs, another one, T48? Did I see who did? Oh, maybe I was dreaming things. Did I not see Jeffrey Guan in this field somewhere? The playing in the tournament, in ninth, outright ninth, and Billy Dowling, as he said. So, just a really, really good crop coming through, and I think Australian golf's in such good hands, both male and female, as we've mentioned. You can add numerous names to it, to that list, and I think we're looking good for the future. And I think as more players start to go through either the college system or getting through the Aussie tour here, which is only getting stronger, our crop will only continue to grow and grow, and we'll start to see more players take that leap like Dave Micheluzzi's done, and like Hayden Barron and Justin Warren and many others have done over the past couple of years as well. So I think it's in a really good spot.
Well said, Drudes. Yeah, the amateur game going from strength to strength. The women's as well didn't medal at the Women's World Amateur Team event, but played well. Maddie Tolchard was in contention there for a significant amount of that tournament in the individual rankings as well, eventually falling away in the final round. But that women's amateur team. So to your point, on both sides of the ledger, as it relates to Australian amateur golf, we've got a crop of players well and truly poised to make that progression into the senior ranks of professional golf. And I think the prosperous couple of years we've had domestically on the European Tour and increasingly on the PGA and LPGA Tour is set to continue when you consider the talent that we have, shuffling through that next wave. So it's delightful to see. Drew, speaking of results around the world, just briefly, because I know our attention is increasingly on the Australian summer, and we'll turn our attention there momentarily on this program, but just updating people, the Maybach Championship on the LPGA Tour. Celine Boutier won in a 9-hole playoff. Incredible. Incredible 9-hole playoff. We had that one. I can't remember which tournament it was on the PGA Tour a couple of years ago. I think it went to 5 or 6 holes, but 9 holes is quite incredible. Hannah Green was the fastest finishing Australian there, a tie for 17th. Sarah Kempen, a tie for 34th, and Grace Kim, who's also confirmed she's coming home for the Australian summer. I saw just last week, which is excellent to see. She finished in a tie for 34th. Steph Kyriakou rounding out the field and outright 59th. On the men's European Tour, the DP World Tour, the Commercial Bank Qatar Masters, Sami Valimaki, who absolutely smothers a ball. He won on the first playoff hole. Jason Scrivener, his best finish in a long time, T9 there, a top 10 finish for Scriv. On the ladies European Tour, Minjee Lee competed in the Aramco Series in Saudi Arabia. She was the best finishing Australian in a tie for 6th. Kirsten Rudgley, the WA player who we've mentioned a lot on this program, with an incredibly bright future ahead, in a tie for 35. On the LET Access Series, Kelsey Bennett, a classy T4 finish, and Amy Walsh, tie for 37. So that's kind of a bit of a whip around the grounds, internationally speaking, across the weekend. Drew's turning our attention to home. We will look at the Queensland PGA coming up this weekend at Nudgee Golf Club in just a moment, but a bit of news around. I don't want to bury the lead. So I considered maybe staying positive for the time being, but it's been an overwhelmingly positive episode to date. So let me take it to the negatives just for a moment, if I can, if you'll indulge me, Drew,
Please.
for just a moment. An announcement through from the tour late last week. The headline reads, Block's banner year continues at the ISPS Handler Australian Open. After becoming one of the biggest stories in golf, in today being confirmed as part of the field for the ISPS Handler Australian Open, themed at the USPGA Championship at Oak Hill in May, and him a return to the major championship in 2024, and especially his Sunday hole-in-one alongside playing partner Rory McIlroy. It's so reads on, and really a thinly veiled justification of giving a spot to Michael Block at this year's Australian Open. Drews, it was mixed reaction. Your thoughts, if I can, from the top. Michael Block playing the Australian Samoa.
Yeah, I mean, look, probably along the same lines as what I think. We put it out on our social media. I think you might have popped it up, sort of chasing a bit of feedback from people. And I wouldn't say that it was mixed feedback. I would say that it was overwhelmingly negative. And I would say that 75% of the responses that we got came from tour players on the tour at present, essentially criticizing the decision to give Michael Block a spot. I mean, I've nothing against giving spots to big players to attract tickets. I just don't think that Michael Block is the player that's going to attract ticket numbers. Personally, I'm happy to be proven wrong. I just don't think he's going to do that. And I think the flip side of it is that an Australian player misses out. And they're the two reasons that I think that I don't love this announcement. If they had announced that Dustin Johnson or someone was coming down to play in it, or Jordan Spieth, like he did a handful of years ago, like I think that'd be totally different. I think that would drum up a lot of ticket sales. And so I don't love it. I'm happy to be proven wrong. I think I'm probably in the majority here in sharing that thought, but happy to be proven wrong. And I think, I think the reaction of the players that replied to our social media post, and if you look across social media more broadly, I think that we're probably in the majority here, Marshy. So that's probably all I really have to say on the Block party coming to Australia.
I think you've hit the nail on the head in the sense that what they had hoped to land was a name that would shift the dial. And ironically, the only people who really know who Michael Block are the same ones who you're likely to incense by gifting him a spot in our blue ribbon event down here in Australia. Because this is a guy who's a PGA professional who had a wonderful 15 minutes of fame around the PGA Championship this year, ultimately finishing a top 15th. Yes, he enjoyed arguably the moment of the tournament with his hole-in-one on Sunday. And I was all in. You can listen to the tapes, go back, listen to our review of the PGA. I thought it was excellent. It was a great story. And it was good fun for the 2, 3, 4 weeks to kind of continue to bleed on after that tournament. But to think some kind of 8, 7 months down the track, we're gifting a spot in our National Open, a tournament that's only just come back on the radar at a time when we've got players screaming out for opportunities. And whichever way it's spun, it's unavoidable to say it's at the expense of someone else, because it is. Like, you haven't created an extra spot in the field. You've given that spot. You could have invited and granted an exemption or a sponsor invite to anyone, and you decided to give it to Michael Block, who isn't a big enough name to resonate outside the golf community. So, yeah, look, I think we've spoken a lot recently about things they've got right, and they've got a lot of things right. Announcing another commercial partnership in the last 7 days with Crown, which is an excellent move forward. You know, we talked about Challenger coming on board as a naming rights partner of the whole tour. Excellent move. The broadcast deal with KO, fantastic across the summer. The full schedule of 18 events, wonderful. But if we're going to talk about all the good things, this is a complete own goal in my estimation. And to your point, hey, if we have to get on here and eat humble pie after the Australian Open because it's front page of every newspaper and Blockie's on the project and sitting down with Carl on 60 Minutes and doing all that sort of jazz, then fantastic. But I remain to be convinced, and I think it's a terrible own goal from them when they were on a bit of a hot streak of good opportunities. So, yeah, I think that's all we need to say about the block party. In positive news as it relates to those three tournaments, confirmation that all three defending champions, so Adrian Meronk from the men's competition, Ashton Buhai from the women's competition, and Kit Poppet from the All Abilities Championship, have recommitted to the Australian Open, and that coincides with Meronk's commitment to both the Australian Open and the Australian PGA. So Meronk committing big time to the Australian summer, as are a number of players now, players coming home, the likes of Cam Smith, Adam Scott, Cam Davis, which is excellent. I'm not sure that we'll generate many more international names, but credit to Adrian Meronk, who, you know, his win at the Australian Open last year kind of catapulted his run into a very unlucky, probably 13th spot on the European Ryder Cup team. And he's coming back because it was the kind of kickstart of his great summer. It's good to see him recommit to come down under this summer.
Agreed. And, you know, just as you said, it was probably a miscue to get Michael Block down here. Awesome to get Adrian Meronk back defending and the defending champions from all three categories, as you said, Marshy. I think Meronk is a really good draw card for the tour. He's a very, very good player. Wouldn't be at all surprised if he was in contention again. Can play. So yeah, I'm pumped to see him come and defend the title. I think that's always that's always something that I like seeing, is players out going for back-to-back, because it is very rare. So that is you said the other one was an own goal. That's a goal in the back net for the tour. So well done on getting Adrian Meronk back for year two.
And just finally tonight, Drew, it's Queensland PGA. So we had a week off. We had the weekend off, and now we are up. Defending champion is Aaron Wilkin. Remains one of my favourite chats we've had on this podcast in the 4 or 5 years we've been doing it, was Aaron Wilkin after winning the Queensland PGA last year. He couldn't join us the day after because he was originally going to and had one of the all-time sessions on the Sunday evening, and we pushed it out to the Tuesday. And of course, we got the full story and the warts and all, back and forth between he and our maybe best mate, Justin Warren, who played in the playoff, who was also sleeping on his couch last week. So it's one of the great stories, the defending champion, Silky Wilkie, coming back to defend his title at Nudgee. As I mentioned there at the top with 40, the reigning Order of Merit champion Dave Micheluzzi makes his first start of the summer as well, which is great news. He obviously last start was a T14 finish after an exceptional final round at the Alfred Dunhill Links over in Scotland. He didn't rush back and play the WA PGA or in South Australia like some others did. He's had a little bit of time off and he's into the field. We've got some players coming off the back of the Asia Pacific Amateur, Kazuma Kabori, the very exciting Kiwi who makes his first professional start after a top 10 finish in the Asia Pacific Amateur the weekend just gone. So an exciting tournament, Drews, and a challenging course in Nudgee, not least of which that closing stretch, including, the 150-odd yard force carry across the pond for the par 3 18th. It's a cracking tournament, this.
It is, yeah. And obviously, a few fireworks last year on 18 that came down to those final couple of holes. And as you said, Wilco got the job done over Wazza there. And just a funky green and funky pin position that kind of forced a few interesting shots. Interesting that you mentioned Wilco, actually. I've noticed he's changed his Instagram handle as well. So it's got something to do with Silk now. And it popped up and I thought, yes. Who the hell is this? I don't remember following anyone by this name. And it turns out it's Aaron Wilkin. So interesting decision to change your Instagram handle. I'll give you my tip straight up here, Marshy. We spoke about him before and I nearly interrupted you when you were singing his praises, but I'm going to go with Laurie Flynn here in his home state to get the job done. I thought he's had a very good start to the year. I know that he did miss the cut, the recent event in South Australia, but before that T29 out in WA, out in Kalgoorlie at the WPGA, and T9 the week before at the WA Open. I think there's some good form around him, players in terms of players finishing around him that are also progressing on. So it's not just a flash in the pan. He was T43 at this tournament last year, so obviously looking to improve on that. But I think he's good enough to win. I think he's hitting the ball very, very nicely. So I'll take Laurie Flynn. Don't know if you're going the same way, judging by your reaction, but you can give me your tip now.
I'm not. I was just really excited that Loza is a selection for the weekend. I do have a deep and abiding affection for that man. You know that, so I'm pleased to see him be picked. He's not my pick, but I am pleased to see him be picked for this tournament because he looked great out there at Nudgee last year. No, Drewes, look, it's probably a little too obvious, but I'm going to go with Mika.
Okay.
I just think the way in which he finished, he had an incredible final round, if you recall, in his last start at the Alfred Daniel Links. So he was nowhere. I think he was in the 30s or 40s coming to the final round, and had maybe an 8 under or 9 under to finish in a tie for 14th in horrific conditions. He's had a little bit of time off, which I think is a better run in than some of those other players. Someone like a Baz, with all due respect, who did an incredible effort to finish the way he did in WPGA off literally no sleep, probably in the travel and turning up there. But I just think Mika, having the benefit of flying home, spending a bit of time in and around family in Melbourne, and having a bit more of a level and consistent preparation heading into this tournament, I don't know. There's something I see in him, even his quotes today. He was interviewed from the course there at Nudgee, and I think he's got a bit of a point to prove. He's certainly not going to play the volume that he played last year, I don't think, because obviously he's got his card guaranteed for the next European Tour season, courtesy of winning the Order of Merit last year. But I think he'll be very strategic in the tournaments that he selects that he knows he can truly challenge. So, as I said, maybe I won't say lazy selection, but maybe an obvious selection. But I'm going to pick Mika this weekend in his first up start for the summer.
What I will say is that both Laurie and David are fuming now because our picks have been nothing short of dreadful in the opening few rounds of our tipping game.
Yeah.
I think we're running at an under. I mean, we've done 2 tournaments worth of tips. I think I've had one player make the cut, and you haven't had either. So we're operating.
I was just about
25%. So we're going pretty well.
Just about to say, Laurie and Mika will be lucky to make the weekend at Nudgee, given we've now tipped them. So my deepest apologies to both, who we are very fond of both. Just a couple of quick things. Recent champions, obviously, we mentioned Aaron Wilkin last year, Anthony Quayle and the COVID year of 2020, Daniel Nisbet 2019, Daniel Fox in 2018. And the list goes on. The course record is jointly held by Quayle and Hayden Barron in consecutive years. So Quayle, in his championship year of 2021, hit a 65, and Baz did it last year as well. And just thought it was worth noting, there was a release by the tour today, bit of an overview of the tournament coming up this weekend, including pointing out you can find it on KO, rounds 3 and 4. 2:30 to 5:30 Australian Eastern Daylight. So that's 1:30 to 5:30 on Saturday, Australian Eastern Standard. And that is 11:30 to 3:30. Fuck, that's good maths from me. Australian Western Standard Time. And then the final round, 12:30 to 5:30 Daylight Savings Time, 11:30 to 4:30 Standard Time, and 9:30 to 2. But the reason I'm calling this email out, Drew, players to watch. They've done our man Aaron Wilkin dirty. He's a defending champion, and he doesn't make the players to watch list. So the players to watch, David Nicholuzzi, understandably,
Yeah.
Austin Batista, the last start winner, winning the WebEx Players Series in SA. Benny Eccles, also winner this year in the WPGA. Gailey, the NT PGA champion. Lachlan Barker, who is, of course, our Order of Merit leader at this point in time. Louis Dobler, who won the NZPGA earlier in the year. And Harrison Crowe, the New South Wales Open champion from last year, the second most recent Australian Asia Pacific champion, and of course only recently turned professional in second or third start as a pro. The call out, and I say this with the greatest amount of respect, but I skipped past his name. Second on the list of players to watch is the 2006 Australian Open champion, Long John Senden, who love Johnny Senden, Capera local, great Brisbane man, phenomenal player in his own right. But I've got some questions as to how the 2006 Australian Open champion, who literally is the last man whose name is ensconced on the trophy.
Yes, I don't know. Look, I'm happy with John Senden in the field. I like that. I'm happy. I don't mind it. I just gave him a kick because Michael Block's in there, but I'm happy with John Senden in there.
I reckon that's wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if Aaron Wilkin has a top 5 or a top 10 finish this weekend because he's read that email. Wilco is exactly the type of person who'll read that and go, hang on a fucking second. I beg your pardon. And I would welcome it. So look, it's going to be an exciting tournament. Spent a bit of time out there with Wiz last year when he went on his run in the final round. And I'll head out there again. So at very, very, very affordable price as well, which we have from Greg Blewett. So if you're in South East Queensland this weekend for the Queensland PGA, Dreeds is going with everyone. We shall hopefully see both of them playing on the weekend. And hopefully see one of them holding aloft the trophy on Sunday afternoon. Dreeds, that'll probably do us. I'm conscious that we're running to a time limit, and I'm also conscious that we are comfortably inside that, which is unusual for us. So I don't want to tempt fate. It's been wonderful to have 40 on with that, really exciting announcement that this here podcast is now proudly presented by Cobra Puma Golf. And it will be going forward across a very busy summer. It's been wonderful to have your company on your birthday. A pleasure as always.
Thank you.
Covered plenty of ground. We'll tune in intently to the Queensland PGA Championship and be back in your ears with the review next Monday evening, all things being equal with the winner as well. Dreadster, enjoy what is left of your special day. Heading out to dinner, I know, with the family. La Famille, which is beautiful. It's always lovely to join you each and every week, maybe on your special day as well. So happy birthday. Proud of you. Love being with you here on this podcast. And we'll do it all again next week.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.